Welcome to the Education Podcast, where it's all about helping people and organizations unleash their greatness. The Education Podcast features lively discussions.
When they share it, you see that they're beginning to feel empowered.
My heart, it's full of pride for me to be at Maitai Samoa.
You don't necessarily need a degree these days. There's so many pathways to success.
Welcome to the Education Podcast. Welcome to the Education Podcast, where we help you win both personally and professionally. Today, we have Xavier Tofilau, a sales powerhouse who's taken his career from corporate boardrooms to becoming one of the top 1% real estate agents internationally. Xavier's story isn't just inspiring, it's packed with practical wisdom. He's a master of negotiation, a skilled marketer, a rapport-building expert who knows how to turn connections into results. With over 300 million in settled sales and a reputation for putting people first, Xavier's diverse sales experience from call centers to HR and recruitment offers valuable lessons for anyone looking to sharpen their skills. So in this episode, we're going to explore the mindset, the strategies, and the habits that's helped Xavier to be one of the top in the game. So whether you're in sales, entrepreneurship, or simply just looking to elevate your communication and leadership skills, this conversation is going to be very useful. So let's get right into it. Thank you for joining us, brother. To get into it, can you share something interesting about yourself?
Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Also, really appreciate it. I think one thing about me that's interesting that I like to be interesting is I'm a historian. Like I like history. I'm a bit of a history buff. So from the World War II to the I guess anything historical. I'm pretty much don't know a lot, but I know a little of a lot. So I love history.
Oh, nice. And why do you like history, brother? Why do you like going back to the past?
I feel there's a lot of things that we can learn from the past that is relevant to now, the future, especially mistakes or things that have happened that can help us to be better in life as we are speaking in just for our generation.
Oh, awesome. I love that. There's definitely heaps that we can learn. Heaps we can learn. Looking back in the past, it can help us in the present and moving forward into the future. I love it. So look, also, it's so good to have you on this podcast because I see you popping up all over social media. You're not just doing well in real estate, you're dominating, which is what I love. And it's awesome to see a Pacifica face in that space as well. So Congrats and well done. But there's a side of you, or if we're talking about history, there's a past that many people don't know about you, and that's your corporate experience. You weren't always in real estate. So maybe take us through your career and how that began, how you got into corporate, and then how you transitioned from that into real estate. Can we start there?
Yeah, no worries at all. So, in terms of the real estate game, so I've been in it for about 7 years, but before this, I was in recruitment, HR. So I worked for a company called Adico, just as a resource consultant. So I used to recruit workers for the Cirque du Soleil, as well as manufacturing jobs. But yeah, I've done that for about just under 4 years. So so I really enjoyed the recruitment industry, and I feel like it's helped me to where I am now in terms of dealing with people. And because real estate is just a people game. If people like you, if they trust you, they'll go with you. So yeah.
Wow. So obviously all that experience in HR net, it was basically you were working with people. So obviously all those skills were transferable or, kind of helping you in the real estate. And it's interesting that you say that real estate is a people game. It's more than just selling houses. Can you talk to that a little bit? Like, what do you mean by it's a people game?
Yeah, so when I say it's a people game, obviously the product is the house because it's the biggest asset, in one's life is your house, commodity. But in terms of you're dealing with people, you're dealing with buyers, you're dealing with sellers. There's a lot of different scenarios going on. Like I just helped a family, they just bought a house on the Gold Coast, so they needed it sold within a certain time frame, and they needed a price. So it was a stressful situation. So I tried to take it upon myself just to, deal with them calmly in a calm, professional manner. But then at the same time, you know, you have to negotiate, you know, the right offers. You have to educate them as well about the market, and then buyers, you know, making them see value in terms of the price that they're wanting to pay for. So there's a lot of aspects in terms of it's all people based. And then as you build up a good reputation for yourself, then it's easy for your name to get out there, and especially in the community. So yeah, it's definitely a people. It's definitely helped me in the recruitment space. In terms of where I am now.
Cool. How do you build those people skills? And when you say people skills, like, are you talking about communication? Like, and obviously you're talking about influence as well. Can you maybe break that down a little bit more for us?
Um, when I look at real estate, there's a lot of traits, transferable traits in terms of from recruitment to sales. But for me, I feel like when I look at my career, it's sales wise, you know, you got to be able to close the deal, negotiate, you know,
Mhm.
you got to negotiate with conviction. You got to negotiate with, you know, you got to be analytical, statistical as well with information that you're conveying to a buyer or seller. And also just with sales itself, because sales is pretty much in every facet of any job in the world, whether you're selling yourself to your wife on which store or which meal to get on the way home, or if you're selling your children on hey, can you do this chore instead of, you know, so sales is pretty much in every aspect of life. So I feel though with recruitment, because you're dealing under high pressure, you know, recruitment, you know, you got to find people for a certain job within a time frame, and then you're dealing with issues, people not turning up, people not showing up. So being in real estate now, you know, it's quite a stressful, high pressure job. So yeah, like which is the reason why not many of our Pacifica do it. And it's not guaranteed income. You don't get paid hourly. You only get paid for a result. So it's really, you just have to be a self motivator as well. And yeah, pretty much like it's pretty much do or die every day. Like you're like a lion hunting for your meal, and you don't know where the next meal is going to come from. But yeah, like it's just always maintaining that you know, calm under pressure, but also you have to build a good profile in the community, and
Mm.
you know, so people can come to you if they're having those barbecue talks, like, hey, which is an agent that you can go to, you know. So yeah, just to help.
I love that. I love that. Take us back to the early days because you talked about, man, this isn't easy. You get paid for results. It's commission based, right? So, like, tell us how, like, what the beginning was like, and then how you got to where you are today with all this reputation and result.
Thank you. So when I first started in Mangry, so I first started, I had a sickness benefit, so I was at Wins working income, and basically my wife said to me, "Oh, why don't you get into real estate? Because you're always watching it on TV, and I always see it on the newspaper, you know, the Manukau Courier." So I said, "Oh, okay." So then I went for it, and then I started door knocking. I started, you know, kind of social media, you know, doing selfies with buyers and just things that are different. But I was just knocking on doors every single day. I'd knock on, you know, $80 a day, and then I'll go back and do another wraparound, and I'll just try and get my name out there. But over 2 years, then that's when I became the number one in Mangry for Verona Otara for 4 years. So I kept that because everyone knew me from door knocking, because I used to door knock every day from like 10 all the way up until 4, 5, or 6 at night sometimes. And then
Wow.
because I door knocked them and stayed in contact with them, it was easier for them to come back to me, because although there were other agents selling in that street, but they always refer to come back to me because they know me on that personal level. But what I'm doing right now is pretty much starting again. So in a new country, a new market where no one knows me. So I'm pretty much going back again, but starting with experience this time. But yeah, definitely, yeah, it was a lot of struggle, a lot of trials. There were moments where people would say, "Oh, you should quit," you know. It's,
Mm.
you know, you're not getting money. There were times I look at my wife like, man, are we gonna make it through? But look, you know, obviously I believe in, you know, God as well, you know, so I believe in Heavenly Father. So I just push through as best as I can, and yeah, now I'm here now, but I'm starting over again. So yeah, it's pretty much full circle.
Yeah, full circle, but it's not your first rodeo, and I'm sure, you know, it goes back to those, I wouldn't say basics, but you know, back to those days where you're knocking on doors. It's building those relationships and building that trust, building your reputation again, eh?
Yes.
So I love that, and I want to go there for a little bit. How do you build trust? You're knocking on doors, people open the door, then you've got this opportunity. It might be a small window, but you have to try and build trust with people. That's basically the foundation of any relationship. How do you go about building trust in relationships with people?
Yeah, so when I take it from a door knocking sense, it's just like life. So, for example, I just sold a family's house last week in Underwood. So, how I got there was I door knocked them, I got the number. So, I just built up a relationship first. I preempted it. I said, hey, look, I'm probably not the first agent that's knocked on your door or the first agent that's asked you to sell your house. But look, I'm not here to try and sell your house. I just want to
Mm,
maintain a relationship, keep you up to date with the street, with the market. So, that through that connection, I was then able to communicate with him on a consistent basis. How I communicate with, regular texts, regular market updates through email, calls once a few weeks, and then
mm.
when it came time for him to sell his house because he bought a house in Tanamera, which is another area nearby, then he came to me. And then obviously through my skills that I was able to do a presentation, let him know about, hey, what's the best selling method, commission value, marketing package. So through that, that was able to then convert it into a listing, which then became a sale. But I wouldn't have ever got that presentation. I mean, the listing if I didn't knock on the door initially, and didn't. We have this thing called commission breath in our industry where you can sense when someone's just trying to get the sale, the
Mm,
transaction. So
mm,
for me, I try and approach every person like a family member, like
mm.
oh hey, how's it going? The Pacifica way, and then just stay in contact with them, and then yeah, just like anything, like you just stay in contact with them, and then because you're staying in contact with them, basically, that's how what do you call it? That's how the business was able to turn into a listing.
Wow, what an amazing story. And I think along that journey, you're supporting them, you're side by side. It's not what you're doing for them, it's how you make them feel also in that journey, which I love. I want to go back to what you said earlier around, it's tough. It's tough getting into this industry, especially when it's
Mm,
results driven and you don't know if you're going to make a buck because it depends on the sale and it could take forever how long.
mm,
And it's not just you going on this journey. You got your wife, you got your family, because you got to put food on the table, right?
yeah.
Especially if everything hangs on you as the breadwinner. But tell us about that mindset that you had and some of the emotions you went through and how you overcame that. Because for a lot of people, especially for men, that's risky, man. Leaving your corporate job and then going into something like this space here.
Yeah, you're right. There's a 95% fail rate for real estate agents within the first 2 years, so it's a big fail rate. But I remember when my wife was working, she was working at IRD, so the income was able to supplement, and we are staying at her parents, so we were staying there, so that saved on expenses. But I just remember we had to just be budget with our money, be good with money, because when the sold sticker goes on the board, you don't get paid straight away. You probably get paid, a couple of weeks after that, so it's not straight away. So you got to budget your money. But yeah, how we went through that was just budgeting and just being really skin with what with where we go and what we eat. But yeah,
Mm,
like if it wasn't for my wife's just being hard on me in the beginning, but you have to be disciplined. Like motivation will come and go, but you have to fake it till you make it. So sometimes I don't feel like making calls, or sometimes I don't feel like going and knocking on doors. Like today, I've got 7 people who are on the market. So they haven't sold yet, but they're coming up to expiration. So they're no longer going to be in contract with that other agent. So I've got seven owners I have to go see today. So, but for me, there are days where like, oh, but then you got to realize that, hey, you're like a lion. A lion eats today, with one eye, but then the other eye is looking for tomorrow's meal. So you got to start to plant the seeds, and yeah, we have to prospect hunt every day. If we don't hunt every day, then you're not going to get the fruits of your labor. Yeah.
I love it. I
Mm.
love that. I love that lion and meat hunting analogy, right? You reap what you sow. You've
Mm.
got to put in the mahi, and then you get the treats.
Yeah,
Eh?
that's it.
So
Yeah.
obviously in real estate, the market can be unpredictable. Hey, there's a lot of ups and downs,
Yes.
which has a ripple effect on you and your success as well. And I can imagine you have a lot of setbacks, a lot of challenges. How do you stay motivated during these setbacks and challenging times?
Um, you think of the vision, you think of the end goal. So the end goal is to be an attraction business. The end goal is to be the person that comes up in the barbecue talks. The person that comes up like because usually rule of thumb, when someone goes to sell their house, they either know a family or friend they either look for a recommendation, and if they don't know, then they'll go on Google and they'll have a look at who's the area specialist. So for me, having left an attraction business back home, having, because I didn't leave coming down, I actually was still the number one selling agent in Mangere, Otara, Verona. So I left all of that behind to come here. So I could have stayed there and still, continued off my attraction business, but we chose to come here and start from the ground up. So mentally, when I came here, I had mental battles within myself because I was walking into doors and people didn't know of me. I could no longer use the "I'm number one, so go with me." I could no longer use the "I've been selling in Mangere for 7 years, so go." So all of a sudden, people would look at me like, "Who are you?" And I could no longer use anything of my. It's just kind of like taking the tools of a warrior. So you can no longer use what makes you special. So I think having that vision, that knowing that where what I left behind and where I can get to. So now I'm like what you said before. Now I'm moving. I'm starting again, but with experience. So it'll take time, and I'll get there. But I know that in order for me to get there, I have to redo the hard work that to get me there to one day. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm.
That's a bold move. That's a big move. I mean, why did you leave not being number one in Mangere to starting from ground zero in Brisbane, Australia? Why did you make?
There's a lot of personal things also in my life, but I feel a lot of it comes down to me and my wife just wanted to stand on our own too. So I've been looking after my mom, me and my wife for the better part 10 years. And mom's well looked after. And before I came, my brother who's Sasa, who's taken over me now as the number one in Mangere there. So I said to him, also, if you can look after mom, well, we feel like it's the best time for us to go and start off anew. And my wife comes from a family of 9 siblings, so it wasn't easy for her, and I have just 3. So look, we didn't, once I knew that my mum was okay and my wife's family was okay, and we sold up our house in Favona, and we spent about a year and a half at my in-laws house. So we got to really build relationships intimately with our family before we came. And then when we had the farewell early in January this year, we came here, and then we just said, this is we're doing our own thing now. And if anything, I'm happy I was able to contribute to the success of my brother, in a way. He could continue the legacy there, but now it's time for me to just restart now. And I think to myself, I'm in my prime, so I'm better to move now while I'm still. I'm not as fit as you. I'm not as, but in terms of prime corporately, like I'm 36 years old, so I still got a lot of years left in me in terms of to try and dominate the suburbs that I'm here. So if I had left it too late, come over, a bit later on, then I think it would have been a bit, late. But right now, corporate, like I'm over my prime in terms of physically, but in terms of like corporate, I'm still, in my mid 30s to 40s. I can still go for 100 miles an hour.
I love it. I love it. And your goal is to become number one in Brisbane.
Yeah, so definitely. So number one in the suburbs that I have now, and then obviously aim for the top spot over the next 2 to 3 years. It'll take me, a couple of years, but I know I'll get there. I'll get there one day.
Awesome. And what are you focused on to become number one? Like
Um, number
to- yeah.
yeah, number one is you have to focus on dominating one suburb. If you can focus on being the face of that suburb, then it's easy for you to build a team and you take over the neighboring suburbs. Once you build a team and you take over the neighboring suburbs, then it's easy for you to build that team presence and consistently year by year as your team gets bigger and better and dominate more suburbs. Then obviously you'll be an attraction business in that way. But so what I'm doing at the moment as well is I'm getting involved in the community. I'm sponsoring a gym, local hero of the month. So I approached the gym. I said, hey, do you mind to collab? I'm trying to get my name out here. And I approached the biggest meat shop in the area, the biggest playground center in the area. So yeah, we're doing a lot of community stuff next year, as well as that. There's no agent in Logan, Pacifica. So I've already approached all the Pacifica community as well, because I know that's a community I'm mindful as well to help as well. But yeah, that's pretty much the way is just to work hard. There's no shortcuts to success. You have to just work hard. As much as people would love the success straight away, but you have to put in their hours, and you have to just work, discipline to do the work, even when you don't want to do the work, but you just still do it. Yeah.
I love that. I think one of the cool things that you've mentioned is the partnership and collaboration. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely believe collaboration is multiplication, and I think that's one way to get your name out there as well. Because I think that's what you said is like attraction and getting known, right?
Yeah.
So I love that. I want to come back because you've mentioned family and you've mentioned your faith as well. I want to talk a little bit about that
Yeah.
and how that plays a role and how it shapes your approach to your work. So can you maybe talk to that?
Yeah, no, thank you. So, I don't work Sundays. So Sundays I go to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I feel like having that spiritual perspective in your life, it gives you a moral compass. It changes in you in the way that you approach people, in the way that you approach situations, where the natural man in us will be jumping to conclusions, jumping to anger and frustration, but we calm ourselves down, we say a prayer, and obviously we approach things from a Christ-like perspective. To Not working on a Sunday just means that Monday to Saturday I got to work smarter, I got to work harder because of the limited hours. But keeping a Sunday holy, that for me allows me to reset my life. I might have had a bad week, I might have had a week to reflect upon, but that one day a week helps me and my wife to reflect. How can we do better? How can we better serve our fellow man? But yeah, and just also in life, in corporate world, we get so lost. We get so we tend to lose who we are, our identity, especially when we not having a good week. We lose clients or deals that don't go through. But then we always got to put ourselves like having that what do you call it? Having having that reason to live. Our purpose in life.
Mm.
I get more service and satisfaction. Not in selling houses, but when I'm doing, like, for example, I was with one of my brothers. He's a president of of a church group in terms of the older men. So I was core business. So, we were up late doing tables in the hall, and I get more service. I get more satisfaction from doing that stuff than I do from selling houses. Selling houses is it's a thrill, it's adrenaline, but just helping, being a part of, building up the kingdom of the Lord. For me, that gives more meaning in my life, and it gives me more happiness.
I love that. And you talked about purpose, and I always tell people this is one of my biggest motivation is, we're all gonna end up in a coffin one day. We're all going to end up in the same place. It's like I want to do as much as I can before I leave this earth. What's something that you want to achieve before you leave this planet?
Oh, it's a big question. I like to leave, or in terms of like family wise, I want to make sure my son, I leave him, to be the best person he can be, to be a good provider for his husband, always love his wife, be a good, good father to his kids. But in terms of the world, I'd love to leave in terms of more confidence within our Pacifica, especially from a sales aspect. We're very humble by nature. But obviously, there are moments where we need to be confident. We need to step out and just say, what we're good at. Because for me, in the real estate, I've noticed a lot of nationalities here, they kind of bring their guards down. They talk to us in a way that the trust is there because they know we came from nothing. So they know that, obviously everything that we do, it's always from our heart. We wear our heart on our sleeve. So I feel it's a lot easier for me to build connections here simply because of the color of my skin and because of my origin, Polynesian. But like for me, it's just making sure that every person I deal with on the real estate level is making sure I leave them that, hey man, that even though that guy's Pacifica, but he can uphold a conversation, he can be a professional, he can exceed my expectations, and then hopefully he won't go to judge someone such as myself in another profession, whether it be a plumber or electrician or second because we're not in the spaces enough. We need to be more in those spaces. But yeah, like yeah, it was that would be my honest
I love
reflection.
that. And you said, there's not many people, and we want to get more people in these spaces, see more Pacifica in these spaces. What's advice for someone who's keen to get into this real estate space? What would your advice be for them?
Definitely one is have at least 6 months worth of savings, just to, because you're like a lawnmower at the beginning. The engine's not running straight away, but you got to pull, a few, and then after a while it'll go going. Secondly, find a mentor, find someone that's actually doing it, find someone that can actually give you that that security, that safety net blanket for you to leverage under. And then thirdly, just go all out, just work like a hungry, person that's never eaten before, just work hard.
I love that hunger, that ambition, that drive, and I love that analogy of a lion. I'm going to use that one there. Gotta eat, gotta eat, gotta hustle, gotta hustle. Hey, look, thank you so much also for just being so generous with your time, sharing your story, your experience in terms of career. You're dominating. It's very inspiring to see our Pacifica, especially in this space. And all the best with what you're doing in Australia. I'm confident that you're gonna become number one. So you heard it here first on the podcast. If there's anything that you want our listeners to take away from our conversation today, what would that be? And if they're interested in getting in touch with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, no worries. I feel, you've created a great space for our people, to thrive and keep up doing the good work that you're doing also. And a big fan of yours. And I love seeing your posts, especially the ones that it's not just a post to just look at and like, but you're actually learning something that we could add and implement in our lives. So keep up the work with you and your wife and your team. But I guess for me, now just look, 2024 is coming to an end. There's like 33 more days. So I think look back on this year for me and my wife, we're going to sit down and just go through our goals. What did we do well this year? What didn't we do well? And map out next year. Like what can we do better for next year to ensure that we have a good, life, in terms of spiritual, financial, physical. Sorry, I've gained too much weight, but physical and so just all those things. So I think a year of reflection, just to reflect back on this year, and obviously just connecting with people such as yourself to help them improve as well. And for me, yeah, you can find me on Instagram, find me on Facebook. You can find me everywhere.
Everywhere and LinkedIn,
Yeah,
Xavier Tofilau.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Also, that's right. 2024 is coming to an end. Think about 2025, the goals, who you want to become, what you want to achieve. Great advice to end the podcast. And thank you again so much. Also, Xavier Tofilau, Sales Powerhouse. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.